Okay, hey. Today we're going to talk about the definitive guide to Amazon FBA and specifically how the FBA business model works. Now, there's a lot of misinformation online, and a lot of the people recording these types of videos aren't business people. They're YouTubers or vloggers or something like that, and it's just there's a lot of misinformation. So, disclaimer, I'm the founder of Amazon SEO Consultant. It's a website that helps rank organic products inside the Amazon A9 search algorithm itself. We've had incredible success and now over to 100 clients. It's one of the reasons why I feel like I can make this video is because we have had success with the FBA model, managing close to 50 million a month in sales now for sellers around the world. So we can talk about this because we've seen what works. So try not to be drawn into people who are talking about FBA as if it is a get rich quick scheme. You do have to build a brand, especially now because it's very, very saturated. If you have no capital and you have very little time, this isn't going to work for you. So just wanted to make that little disclaimer. You can have a look at our site, amazonseoconsultant.com. Have a read around. There's some really good resources on there, all 100% free. Again, we're not trying to sell you any courses or anything. You can learn everything you need to learn for this business model on YouTube, on Google, on our website. And then that's it. But you do need to build a brand. So let's get cracking. So obviously everyone's talking about this still, but what exactly is FBA? So FBA obviously stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. It's basically their third-party seller inclusion program. Okay, so this was designed to take the logistics hassle out of the equation for sellers originally, and then as Amazon grew, it became obviously a massive e-commerce platform, and now they have so much traffic going directly to Amazon, they can charge such high fees for essentially the FBA fees, that they're making a massive profit, and now although they're not the largest company in the world, they're actually the most valuable. So if you have a look at the article on Forbes, we'll link that below. It's actually ranking Amazon first in terms of most valuable companies. That's mainly due to the fact that although they obviously are the $1 trillion company now, they have the platform in place to grow exponentially. Okay, so their demand is increasing, and obviously their demographics are very good as well. They're mainly younger. Okay. The FBA model is aimed at benefiting small and mid-sized Amazon sellers, as well as having sort of vendor central for the larger ones who don't want to deal directly with the seller central platform. Okay, so essentially you manufacture or source products, and Amazon does everything else from a fulfillment, packing, picking, storage point of view, and they even kind of pre-sell it for you. All you need to do is put it on Amazon. If you have a very good product, you kickstart it with a launch process, or you use our service and you rank organically. If you have a great product, you're basically done. But of course, as I mentioned, you do need to build a brand. This isn't sort of 2012, 14 Amazon. You do need to actually build a real brand. Okay. So how does Amazon FBA work? So we've got this nice little explanation here. Basically, your manufacturer or yourself, you source your products. Okay. You then ship these or air freight or even courier them over to Amazon. And if you're not sure what those are, please research before starting this process. Then inside an Amazon warehouse or an Amazon fulfillment center, your products will sit. Okay, they'll then be labeled by the Amazon team, and you'll be given an ASIN. Okay, so this is kind of Amazon's identification number. Can't remember what the S stands for. It's essentially a 8-9 digit number that tracks every single different item on Amazon. Okay, and this is super important, but we'll come back to it later. Then your listing will be live. Okay, so that's all good. Then obviously, ideally, customers will buy your products. Amazon will then fulfill them, so basically pick, pack, and send them to those specific customers. Amazon handles the returns and the customer service to a certain degree. You have to handle actual customer service, but they'll handle the returns in terms of automatically creating the labels for customers. And then you get paid in the majority of circumstances. Okay, so that's how it works. It's very, very simple, honestly. I don't think anyone who is familiar with digital marketing or even just business in general wouldn't understand this process. And as you can see, there's a lot of benefits because the manufacturing to Amazon process is very, very simple. Okay, if you have a good product development plan and you have a good product with additional benefits and those benefits of benefits, which we'll talk about later, this is going to be very, 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 very effective for you. Okay, so how to get started on Amazon FBA? So first, you're going to need an active seller account. Okay. So what you're going to do is basically go and type in Amazon seller account creation, go through that process. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but once you have it, you'll have to read all their terms of service and everything. And you can use the FBA calculator to work out what product, if you already have a product in mind, will cost you if you're selling it on Amazon. And this is really important because you don't want to be shocked by the fees that they're going to offer you. It's going to be a lot higher than you think. If you're selling, say, a $50 product or a £50 product, then you're probably going to be looking at an average of anywhere between 10 and 20 pounds or dollars per sale. And I know that sounds like a lot, but the margins are there still, depending on the product you have. Okay, so part 2, once you have your products ready, you need to ship them into Amazon, okay? And you actually pay for the shipping, but depending on where you're shipping from, they have subsidized rates. So they have a relationship with UPS, and you can pay usually about a quarter of the price as if you would have shipped it in with a different service provider, okay? And then this is very, very overgeneralized here, but you manage, promote, and optimize your listings to clock sales, okay? So this is Amazon SEO, PPC, external launch processes. There are so many. We have a few good articles on our blog that talk about this. Again, 100% free. Don't go paying for this information. And then you basically repeat this, okay? So the toughest part of Amazon at the moment is generating reviews, okay? If you can crack that, and I'm not saying you should go out and buy any reviews, but if you can crack it using friends and family that aren't traceable back to you, then go for it. If you have a very good product and you implement a specific launch process, you can have something that is basically from stage 1 all the way through product ideation, product development, supplier chain, shipping, logistics, all the way through to review generation, follow-up, customer service. We have a 13-stage plan in our internal agency, and that's how we've managed to have VAs overseas running the entire process. So managed by one UK team member and an entire VA running a 7-figure business just from that stages. Now, without getting too much into the details of that, obviously you need to build out the training and the processes in extremely granular detail. But if this is your first time, do everything yourself, research as much as possible. YouTube is your best and worst friend in as much as you're going to have a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of clickbait bullshit on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff saying FBA is easy AF, easy as fuck. The problem is it's difficult to get consistent sales, okay? And you will need help to do this, okay? So you can check out the review of our review of the finest FBA tools. Again, it's a 12,000 word guide where we reviewed every FBA tool worth knowing about. Again, we're a service provider, we're not a software provider, so this is 100% unbiased as well. Okay. Manage your business like a boss, because you do need to start automating processes if you're going to scale. If you're still doing customer service and you're still doing promotions when you're the founder or CEO of a company, even if it's an Amazon company, you're going to struggle long term. Okay, so if you type in Amazon seller tools, I believe we come up first for that as well. So just Google that, you should be able to find us. So major advantages of FBA. Now, it takes a little to start. So this isn't a no capital upfront business model. You do need to order inventory and you do need to understand what you're doing when it comes to logistics, because if you only have a couple of $1,000s and you get hit with an import tax or you get hit with an Amazon FBA fee you weren't expecting, you need to have that little bit of excess of only $500 to cover that, okay? So when you watch these videos and say, okay, you can invest $1,000 and make 10K a month, it doesn't exist, okay? So please do not fall into that trap, okay? Another advantage is it's cost effective and it's very fast shipping, okay? So obviously Amazon have Prime. If you are a Prime member, then obviously you get it within a day. That's a huge selling point for FBA, and it's just, honestly, you just can't beat that. It's incredible. Okay, there's no stocking issues, so there's unlimited warehouse space in quotes at reasonable rates. Now, if you don't sell your product within 90 or 180 days, you incur something called long-term storage fees. Now, those can kill sellers, but realistically, you should be turning over inventory faster than that anyway, okay? So that's just something to be aware of. Then finally, you have less admin and more peace of mind, okay? So Amazon automatically handles customer service and returns and refunds. Okay, now this is worrying in and of itself. Now, if someone asks a question directly, you will get a notification and you will need to go in and essentially answer that customer's query. But if they request a refund, unfortunately, you don't get to know about it until it's too late, which is really frustrating. But you can actually follow them up and say, hey, why did you want a refund? What was wrong with the product? And if you do this, you're going to avoid negative reviews as well, which is one of the major killers of Amazon businesses. Now, obviously, there's relatively no growth ceiling. If you rank first for all your keywords on Amazon, then of course that is relatively as high as you can go. But realistically, that's enormous scalability, because you can launch thousands of products, rank them for all keywords, and essentially, if your processes were large enough and you didn't do anything wrong and you had great products, you could essentially grow to as much as is exponential. But you would need to launch new products. Streamlined process. Obviously, Amazon support is not as good as it used to be, annoyingly. But when you do try and get in touch with them, they should point you in the right direction. So this is from sales forecasting, filing taxes. FBA actually has a massive edge because they can pull all the data into one massive Excel. And when you download that, you'll see every little bit of information. You send that over to your accountant and you're good to go. Okay, and the Prime benefits are huge. So obviously, Amazon has Amazon Prime. Now, this results in better click-through rates, higher trust values, as a result, better conversions, and you've obviously got free 2-day and cheap 1-day shipping. Okay, in the UK, it's free 1-day shipping, obviously, because we're a lot smaller than US customers. Obviously, buy box eligibility as well. Research that. If you're selling a product that other people are selling, so you're not doing a private label product, you do need to be very careful with things like buy box eligibility, pricing, and if you get undercut, there's not a lot you can do about it. Okay. And as the stat states, Prime members spend nearly twice as much as regular members, because Prime products move faster, are usually better rated, and typically more visible in the SERPs. So that stands for search engine results pages. Okay. Access to multi-channel fulfillment. So this is a big one. So fulfill orders across the board. So your website, apps, offline, easy integration, reasonably low fees. This is really important because you can connect your, say, Shopify store to Amazon directly, and you can market that Shopify store and it'll look like a normal e-commerce website, but it will be connected to FBA. Now this is really, really powerful because your fees will be reduced because Amazon isn't the referral then, they're just the fulfillment side of it, so they're slightly lower. And you can also couple it with other marketing channels as well, Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. Okay, and you can market your Shopify store without sending traffic to Amazon and having to pay slightly higher fees. Again, this is more concerned if you're building a really good product, and everything we're talking about today comes back to building a brand. So build an incredibly good product, and all of these issues are kind of not as large because it all starts with having a good product. If you have that, the launch process, the review process makes everything so much easier. Okay. But obviously, FBA isn't all rosy. Now, this is what people don't really talk about. So here are some cons. Managing inventory can be tough. Okay. So if you do have those long-term storage fees, you're going to get hit, and your profit margins are really going to kind of take an impact. Usually, if you are experiencing those, you're not doing a launch process right, or your product isn't correct, it isn't priced well, etc. So again, high-level business concepts need to be in place. We have an article on business e-commerce KPIs and metrics to follow. I would recommend researching that, or again, have a search in YouTube on e-commerce KPIs, and you should be able to find that video. Second, holiday season bumper. Okay, bummer. Sorry. So fees spike up during the season. That matters most, but realistically sales do as well. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22. As long as you make sure you have inventory and you sort problem 1, problem 2 doesn't really become so hard. Returns. This is my biggest sort of pain in the ass. Because they're so easy to return for customers, you get a lot more requests to handle directly for yourself, and there's a lot of issues with where to return it and things like that. If I'm, say, a US seller, we have brands in the US, but I'm a UK individual, I can't just ship them to our warehouse or even our house, because obviously I'm not there. So instead I have to have a return location. There are third parties you can use, but it's just a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. And because it's so easy for customers, you do get a higher percentage. So if you sold 100 units via our website, regardless of the product, and you sold 100 units via Amazon, you'd probably get I would probably say 20% more returns via Amazon. So say you only had 1 or 2 via our website, you'd probably get at least 2, 3, 4 from Amazon. And that's the downside of no hassle. So because there's low barriers to entry, it means FBA is getting incredibly competitive and saturated, and you'll also often need to compete against seasonal opportunistic sellers. Now this is just back to the point of build a fucking brand and don't just try and make money fast. It's been all of our biggest mistakes, especially in-house. Obviously you try and go into what you think is the biggest opportunity and really interesting in supplements or fitness or health or something cool, and you realize, okay, this is not our strength, this isn't a very good product, we've just gone on Alibaba and ordered the first one. So realize that that's not actually the way to go. Okay, as it's so low, saturation is increasing, but a lot of the time these people don't really know what they're doing. Okay, so you can still outrank them and you can still outsell them in 99% of cases, but you do need to build a proper brand and understand that pricing is really important as well. So you can actually price higher and make more sales, so obviously double the revenue, if you have a correct branding strategy in place. And this isn't a specific skill set of mine or my team's, but we use a third party to do this. Okay, and then the FBA fees explained. Okay, so research this in more detail because it will depend on the type of product that you're selling. But the referral fees, this is basically where Amazon is the referral channel. So if somebody goes to Amazon.com, purchases your product, you'll pay about 15% of the listing price. Okay, which is pretty high, but at the end of the day, they are the initial channel, so that seems fair enough to me. Storage fees, the cost of using Amazon's warehouses, higher during the Christmas period, but honestly it depends on the size of your product and obviously the weight of it and everything. The cost of everything that goes into fulfilling orders, so aka picking, packing, shipping, to the customer, that's the fulfillment fees. Then you've got the subscription fees, they're $40 a month for a pro subscription. Don't go for the individual FBA account. And then the variable closing fees, so this is depending on what media. Again, it does depend on what you're selling. They have an FBA calculator that's really, really handy. It's semi-accurate as well. You can just use competitors that have similar shaped and weighted products and you'll get a good estimate. Okay, so for example here, if we are selling a product for $80, a gaming keyboard for example, it weighs less than a pound, storage volume less than 1 cubic foot. Okay, we can see the referral fees, so it's about $12 referral fee. Okay, about 15%. Storage is 69 cents per month. Fulfillment 2.41. Subscription, this would be negligible if you were making a high volume of sales. So again, we've just used a $1 because say you were getting started. And then closing, 0. So your net revenue excuse me, is $63.90, more likely going to be around $64.90 if we remove the subscription, as that's a fixed cost. Okay, so fees as percentage of the listing price, about 20.1%. Now if that price was reduced, then that listing percentage actually increases because the referral fee isn't going to move, so it's going to seem as a higher value. The storage is going to stay roughly the same. The fulfillment might decrease slightly, the referral fee will move slightly, but the other ones won't, and it's not going to move by much. Okay, so if you priced it at $7, the referral fee is not going to be 1. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at here. It's going to be 3, 4, 5. Okay, so just remember that if you're selling lower priced products. Okay, another example, let's say a treadmill. We've got 300 pounds, obviously a really heavy item, 6 cubic feet roughly. We're selling it for $600. The referral fee about $90, storage about $5, fulfillment crazy amount, $320. Okay, so our net revenue around 183, 184, and you can see that massive impact that has on the overall percentage, just because this product is very, very expensive and very, very expensive to fulfill. Okay, so this is when it doesn't really make sense to use fulfillment, but what you can do is you can agree rates with Amazon. Okay, just because it's Amazon doesn't mean they don't want more business. Something to remember. Okay, these fulfillment rates are flexible. That's all I'm going to say on that. FBA clearly doesn't work for all categories though, okay? So you really need to be careful if you are slow moving off the shelves. If you have seasonal products, for example, don't get killed by that. If you have oversized products, remember that when you're doing your profit margin analysis. And in other words, find products that are trending reasonably cheap, fast moving, and ideally medium sized and easy to scale. Now, there are other things. So for example, we do personally target oversized heavy items because we know we can make it work from an operational point of view. But if this is your first product, to avoid long-term storage fees of oversized products, which I can tell you are very, very high, you want to have, start with something that's very, very low competition, very, very low order value, and just look for something that's a minimum of 40 orders per month, ideally up around 200, 300, but don't really go above that because you will struggle just from a competition point of view. And then we get onto the markup war, okay? So just as we saw, FBA fees can add up to anywhere between 20 to 70% of your listing price. So let's take about 33% as a reference point. If we have marketing costs per sale of 25%, Amazon fees 33%, miss costs, so this could be anything from, let's say import tax, for example, that leaves us with 32%, okay? So an ideal FBA product will have a 3x or higher markup. Any lower than that and you are skating on thin ice, especially if you do a lot of marketing and PPC. So we like to look for things between the 20 and 50% range. Now, depending on the volume, obviously if you're doing 100K a month at 20%, then you're okay. But remember things like sales tax, remember things like VAT, okay? So we work with a lot of US sellers in the UK and they forget about VAT is 20%. So if they have a profit margin of 20% exactly, then 100% of that is gone because sales tax is on the revenue figure, not on the profit figure, okay? Just something to remember. So as I mentioned before, we've managed to turn our FBA model into a machine, or I call it a process, but you need to turn it into a lean, mean, profit building machine. Easy way to remember that. The way you can do this is have customized products, okay, and not just generic ones from AliExpress, okay? So think about Etsy, look around Etsy for ideas. Not a lot of people are talking about that, and I'm not really sure why. So Etsy is a great marketplace. I love shopping on there for presents and gifts, and also gives me great ideas, okay? Only ever do private label products. The other arbitrage method, in my opinion, is great for cash flow, but it's not really scalable as a business model, okay? You see the arbitrage businesses, and they don't really sell for any multiples. Okay, the EBITDA is just too low. Outsourcing, manufacturing and sourcing. So think big, think China. If you have a specialist product that you've got prototypes for in the UK or the US or a Western market, and you're paying say $10 for a prototype, you will pay a lot more than that for a prototype, sorry. If you're spending $10 per unit of production for small unit volumes, in China you'll probably get that down to about $2-3. Okay, so just remember that. So remember to think big. That's in life pretty much anyway. And then, as I mentioned, arbitrage and drop shipping, quick in and out results, fast results, but I personally really don't like it. It's very unpredictable. You don't know what's happening inside Amazon's algorithm. And yeah, I just wouldn't advise it. To me, it's not a proper business model. And again, everything you want to do with Amazon needs to be around building a brand. Okay, and then that's everything. So if you'd like to get in touch with us and ask us any questions about our ranking service or just Amazon in general or business, feel free to get in touch with me via those emails or the Twitter. And then remember, FBA is an opportunity still. It'll be an opportunity for probably years to come because major brands are still not on there, okay? Find a product that works and you've already won half the battle. If you make it better and you have a review process in place, you're pretty much done, okay? Understand how Amazon works and use reliable tools to stay on top of your FBA business. Make sure you automate using software where possible. Learn, optimize, repeat, and put your listings to work through multifaceted Amazon marketing, okay? If you want to ask us anything, feel free to go to AmazonSEOconsultant.com. Okay, thanks for listening. Have a good one.